When we talk about men and psychology, most people think they already understand how men think, what they feel, and how they react. But the truth is far more complex. Men are often raised in environments where emotional expression is limited, strength is rewarded, and vulnerability is discouraged. Because of this, many of their psychological patterns operate quietly beneath the surface. One surprising fact is that men often feel emotions just as deeply as women, but they process and express them differently. Instead of talking through sadness or fear, many men translate those feelings into action, silence, humor, or even anger. This does not mean they lack emotional depth. In fact, studies show that men can experience intense emotional reactions, especially related to relationships, respect, and personal failure. The difference lies in how they are conditioned to manage those emotions, often internalizing them rather than openly discussing them. Another psychological fact that surprises many people is how strongly men are influenced by the need for respect and competence. While love and affection are important to everyone, many men psychologically equate being respected with being valued. If a man feels dismissed, belittled, or unappreciated, it can impact his self-esteem more deeply than others might realize. From a young age, boys are often praised for achievements, strength, and independence. Over time, their identity becomes closely tied to performance and capability. This is why criticism, especially in public or from someone they care about, can feel like a direct attack on their core identity. Encouragement and acknowledgement, on the other hand, can dramatically boost their motivation and emotional connection. It may also surprise you to learn that men tend to bond through shared activities more than through long emotional conversations. While women often build closeness by talking and sharing personal stories, men frequently connect side by side rather than face to face. Playing sports, working on a project, gaming, traveling, or even sitting quietly together can create a powerful sense of closeness. The psychological comfort comes from doing something together rather than dissecting feelings. This is why some men may struggle in relationships where emotional discussions are constant but shared experiences are limited. For them, action is often a language of love. Another interesting pattern is how men handle stress. Many men prefer problem-solving over emotional processing. When faced with a stressful situation, their brain quickly shifts into solution mode. They may offer advice instead of empathy, not because they don't care, but because fixing the problem feels like helping. This can sometimes create misunderstandings in relationships. A partner may want emotional validation, while he feels he is being supportive by finding a solution. Psychologically, resolving the issue reduces his own anxiety as well, giving him a sense of control and stability. Men are also more sensitive to feelings of rejection than they often admit. Although they may appear confident or unaffected, rejection can strongly activate feelings of inadequacy or failure. This is especially true in romantic contexts. Many men are taught that they must initiate, pursue, and prove themselves worthy. As a result, rejection is not just a no. It can feel like a judgment of their value. To protect themselves, some men develop emotional armor, appearing detached or indifferent. Underneath that surface, however, there can be a strong desire for acceptance and reassurance. A surprising psychological insight is that men often experience loneliness at high levels, particularly in adulthood. Because male friendships are frequently activity-based rather than emotionally expressive, deep emotional support networks may be limited. As responsibilities increase and life becomes busier, maintaining friendships becomes harder. Without strong communication habits around emotions, many men struggle silently with isolation. They may not openly say they feel lonely, but it can show up as irritability, excessive work focus, or withdrawal. This hidden loneliness is one of the most misunderstood aspects of male psychology. Men also tend to be highly motivated by purpose. Feeling useful, needed, or capable can significantly impact their mental well-being. When a man feels that he is contributing meaningfully, whether through work, family, or personal goals, his confidence and emotional stability often increase. On the other hand, feeling stagnant or without direction can lead to frustration or low mood. This strong connection between identity and purpose explains why career setbacks or financial stress can deeply affect a man's psychological state. Another fact that surprises many is that men fall in love more quickly than commonly believed. While stereotypes suggest men avoid commitment, research has indicated that men often experience romantic feelings early in relationships. However, they may hesitate to express those feelings openly due to fear of vulnerability or rejection. Society sometimes labels emotional openness in men as weakness, causing them to hold back even when their feelings are strong. This internal conflict between emotional intensity and social expectations creates tension that many people never see. Men also value appreciation for small efforts more than people realize. Because they often express care through actions rather than words, acknowledgement of those actions carries significant emotional weight. A simple expression of gratitude can reinforce positive behavior and strengthen emotional bonds. Psychologically, recognition confirms that their efforts are seen and valued, which supports their sense of competence and connection. Competition is another strong psychological driver for many men. From childhood, boys are often placed in competitive environments that shape their self-image. Healthy competition can build confidence and resilience, but it can also create pressure to constantly prove worth. This may lead to reluctance in admitting mistakes or asking for help. To some men, needing help can feel like failure rather than a normal human experience. Breaking this mindset requires emotional safety and reassurance that vulnerability does not reduce respect. Interestingly, men often think about past mistakes for a long time, even if they don't talk about them. Regret, especially about missed opportunities or personal failures, can linger silently. However, instead of discussing these regrets openly, many men channel them into future goals or self-improvement. This is why you might see sudden intense focus on fitness, career growth, or personal development. These efforts are sometimes driven by a deep desire to correct or compensate for perceived shortcomings. Men also respond strongly to trust. When someone believes in them, supports their ambitions, and shows confidence in their abilities, it can create a powerful emotional bond. Feeling trusted satisfies both their need for respect and their need for belonging. Doubt or constant suspicion, on the other hand, can create emotional distance quickly. Trust communicates that they are seen as capable and reliable, reinforcing their core psychological identity. Perhaps the most surprising fact of all is that many men wish they could express themselves more freely but don't always know how. Emotional vocabulary is often underdeveloped in men due to social conditioning. They may feel complex emotions but struggle to label or articulate them. This does not mean they are emotionally unaware. It simply means they were not always taught the language to express what they feel. With emotional safety and patience, many men gradually open up and reveal depth that others may not expect. Understanding these psychological patterns does not mean putting all men into one box. Every individual is different, shaped by personality, culture, and personal experience. However, recognizing these common tendencies can improve communication, empathy, and connection. When we move beyond stereotypes and look deeper, we begin to see that men's inner worlds are often richer and more sensitive than society allows them to show. And sometimes, the most surprising truths are not about how different men are, but about how human they truly are beneath the surface. Another psychological reality about men that often goes unnoticed is how deeply they attach their identity to being strong and reliable. From an early age, many boys are subtly taught that showing fear, confusion, or emotional pain makes them appear weak. Over time, this belief becomes internalized, and they start measuring their worth by how well they can endure pressure without breaking. As adults, this can lead to a pattern where men carry heavy emotional burdens alone. They may hesitate to share struggles about work, money, family expectations, or personal insecurities because they feel it is their responsibility to handle it. What appears on the outside as calmness or indifference can sometimes be emotional suppression. The psychological cost of constantly trying to appear strong can build up, leading to stress, burnout, or sudden emotional reactions when the pressure becomes too much. Many people are also surprised to learn how much men replay conversations in their minds, especially arguments. Even if they seem quiet during a disagreement, Internally, they may be analyzing every word, tone, and expression. Men often process conflict internally before responding. This is why some men withdraw during heated discussions. It is not always avoidance, but a need to organize their thoughts. Psychologically, they may fear saying the wrong thing and making the situation worse. Silence, in this case, can be a coping strategy rather than a lack of care. Later, they might think about what they should have said, or how they could have handled it differently, sometimes long after the other person has moved on. Another surprising fact is that men can be extremely sentimental, but in private ways. While they may not always express nostalgia openly, many men hold on to meaningful objects, old messages, memories of first achievements, or moments of emotional significance. These memories often serve as quiet reminders of who they are and what they have overcome. Sentimentality in men does not always look like tears or emotional storytelling. Sometimes it appears as keeping an old watch from a father, revisiting a song from their youth, or remembering exact details of a meaningful day. These emotional anchors play a powerful role in shaping their sense of continuity and identity. Men also experience performance pressure in ways that are rarely discussed openly. Society often places expectations on men to succeed financially, physically, and socially. This pressure can create a constant background anxiety about whether they are doing enough or being enough. Even men who appear confident may compare themselves to others silently. Social comparison, especially in career and status, can significantly influence their mood and self-esteem. When they achieve something, they may quickly move the goalpost higher rather than fully celebrating the accomplishment. Another psychological pattern involves how men show affection. While some men are verbally expressive, many demonstrate love through protective behavior, practical help, or consistent presence. Fixing something that is broken, offering financial support, checking if someone got home safely, or solving problems can be their way of saying, "I care." Because their love language often centers around action, they may feel confused or unappreciated if those efforts are overlooked. To them, effort equals emotion. Understanding this translation between action and feeling can dramatically change how relationships function. It may also surprise you that men are deeply affected by feeling replaced or unnecessary. When a man feels that his role, contribution, or presence does not matter, it can create a profound emotional response. This ties back to the psychological need for purpose and usefulness. Whether in friendships, family, or romantic relationships, feeling valued for who they are and what they contribute reinforces their stability. Feeling easily replaceable can trigger withdrawal, defensiveness, or overcompensation as they try to reassert their importance. Men are also more intuitive than they are often given credit for. While stereotypes paint them as less emotionally aware, many men are highly perceptive of changes in tone, behavior, and mood, especially from people they care about. They may not always verbalize what they notice, but they sense shifts in energy and dynamics. However, because they are sometimes unsure how to address these perceptions without escalating conflict, they may keep their observations to themselves. This can create an impression of emotional distance, even when they are internally very aware. Fear of failure is another powerful psychological driver. For many men, failure is not just an event. It feels like a statement about their capability. This can make them cautious in areas where they deeply care about success. Sometimes, procrastination or hesitation is not laziness but fear of falling short. If they avoid trying, they avoid the possibility of failing. This protective mechanism shields self-esteem in the short term but can limit growth in the long term. When given reassurance that mistakes do not define their worth, many men are more willing to take risks and pursue ambitions. Men also crave emotional safety, even if they rarely say it directly. Emotional safety means being able to express confusion, doubt, sadness, or insecurity without being judged or mocked. When a man finds a space where he feels safe enough to lower his guard, the depth of his emotional world often becomes visible. He may share dreams he has never told anyone, fears he hides behind humor, or past experiences that shaped him. This level of openness usually develops slowly, built on trust and consistency rather than pressure. Another lesser-known psychological fact is that men often measure love through loyalty and consistency. Grand romantic gestures can be meaningful, but steady presence over time carries greater weight. Showing up, keeping promises, and standing by someone during difficulties reinforces their sense of commitment. When loyalty is broken, the emotional impact can be deeper than expected because it challenges their core belief in stability and trust. Ultimately, understanding men psychologically requires looking beyond surface behaviors. What appears as silence may be reflection. What looks like anger may hide hurt. What seems like detachment may actually be fear of vulnerability. Men are not emotionally simple. They are often emotionally guarded. When the social pressure to constantly appear strong is reduced, many men reveal sensitivity, depth, and a strong desire for meaningful connection. The more we understand these hidden layers, the easier it becomes to build stronger, healthier relationships based on empathy rather than assumption.